Hey, it's Coach Justin from Ultimate Baseball Training, and today we're talking about hitting the ball hard to the opposite field. Now, if you've watched any of the other hitting videos on this channel, you've probably heard me talking about the importance of being able to hit the ball to all fields. I think it's absolutely crucial if you're looking to hit for a high average and really just be a complete hitter with no holes in your game. You've got to be able to spray the ball all over, and you've got to be able to hit it hard to all fields. And so that obviously includes the opposite field. And I think a lot of hitters, they do really well with pitches right over the middle of the plate. They hit the ball hard on an inside pitch, right? Because they pull their hands in, they stay connected, they hit the ball out in front, so they crush baseballs to their pull side. But a lot of hitters tend to struggle with those away pitches when you're trying to hit the ball to the opposite field. They hit a lot of, weak ground balls or little flares. And so how do we get rid of that? How do we hit the ball hard to the opposite field? That's what we're talking about. Let's jump into it. So the first thing you have to do to hit the ball hard the other way is you have to let the ball travel. But I think it's one thing to hear your coach just tell you, oh, let the ball travel. You've probably heard that a million times before in your baseball career. I think it's one thing to hear that, and it's another thing to understand why. Why do you have to let the ball travel? Why is that such a critical component to hitting the ball hard to the opposite field? And it all comes down to understanding proper contact points. And so there are going to be situations occasionally where you're trying to manipulate your swing and, maybe on a hit and run, for example, you're trying to, even on an inside pitch, potentially, you might be trying to keep your hands inside the ball and hit a hard ground ball to second base, right? So there might be situations that call for you manipulating your swing, but the majority of the time, the pitcher is going to dictate where you actually end up hitting the ball. And what I mean by that is if he throws you a pitch that's inside, okay, middle in, right? The place that the contact point, the place that you're going to actually strike the baseball, make contact with the baseball is out in front of the plate more so than a middle pitch and more so than an away pitch. So on an inside pitch, you're going to pull your hands in tight to your body, you're going to stay connected, and you're actually going to hit this pitch out in front of you like this. That's an inside pitch. On a pitch over the middle of the plate, you're going to let the ball travel just ever so slightly more, and you're going to try to stay right up the middle, gap to gap. And then on an away pitch, this is why I say you have to let the ball travel, because on an away pitch, you're actually going to hit the ball a little bit further back than you would on an inside pitch and further back than you would on a middle pitch. This is the pitch location that you have to let the ball travel the longest. So on an away pitch, you're going to let it travel and you're going to hit it back here. Now, in reality, even on an outside pitch, you're still going to hit the ball out in front of the plate. If you look at Derek Jeter, who's one of the best, opposite field hitters to play the game, he still makes contact pretty much out in front of the plate, even on an outside pitch. But it's so important to understand on an outside pitch, you've got to make contact back here. You can't make contact where you would on a middle pitch. You can't make contact where you would on an inside pitch because that's not going to be an efficient swing with your maximum bat speed and your maximum power, right? If it's an outside pitch and I make contact out here like this, does that look like a very powerful swing? No, because I'm not letting the ball travel, right? I'm trying to go out and get it, right? And so that's the very first thing you have to understand on an outside pitch and on off-speed pitches. It's so important to let the ball get to you, let the ball travel. So let's talk about the next thing when it comes to hitting the ball hard to the opposite field. You've got to get through it. And what I mean by that is as you finish your swing, you've got to drive through the baseball. You've got to get all the way through the ball, and you've got to get great extension. Especially, you want to do that on any pitch location, but especially on outside pitches, all right? Because the reason being, a lot of players, what they tend to do is their bat looks good. It's on plane with the pitch, right? It's on the outer part of the plate here. But as soon as they get to the point where they'd make contact, immediately after contact, what they do is they cut their swing off like this, and that is not going to produce maximum bat speed, maximum power, all that good stuff, right? Chances are, if you cut your swing off really quick like this, you're going to get on top of a lot of balls. You're going to hit a lot of weak ground balls that way. So it's so important on an outside pitch. You can't stop at contact. So just make the mental adjustment. Don't stop at contact. You've got to drive through the baseball just like this, almost like with your top hand, your right hand for a right-handed hitter. It's almost like you're punching the second baseman, just like that. You've got to get through it. You've got to get, extension doesn't happen at the point of contact. Your arms are still bent here, right? Extension happens after contact, so focus on driving through the baseball. You got to get through it if you have any chance of hitting the ball hard to the opposite field. And the last thing that's super important when it comes to opposite field hitting is you have to maintain your posture. So in other words, you can't be diving at the baseball and you can't be having any of those butt out swings. And so let me explain what I mean by that. Okay, so the first one is, diving towards the baseball. And so however you start in your stance, when you load and when you stride, you're gonna have a certain posture here, okay? And your goal needs to be to maintain this posture as much as possible throughout your swing. And this applies on any pitch location, but again, especially on this outside pitch here. But what a lot of players do is, it could be for a variety of different reasons, but they might recognize that it's an outside pitch and they look good and they have posture here. And as soon as they recognize it's an outside pitch, they dive towards the ball like this. And you see how my posture was here, and then all of a sudden, when I dove towards that outside pitch, my posture changed. You're not going to be able to hit the ball hard that way. You have to do a good job of maintaining your posture. And to go along with that, the butt out swing, you see this quite frequently too, where players, they stick their butt out when they're trying to make contact with that outside pitch. And again, butt out swing like that, does that really look like a powerful swing? Absolutely not. So what do you think about to actually do this, to actually maintain your posture? One thing that I found really helpful is to imagine a globe, like a globe that you'd see in a classroom. So you have the globe, right? And then you have a rod that's going through that globe. And then the globe obviously tilts around that rod, around the axis. Well, same thing can be applied to the baseball swing, right? So when we load and when we stride, we set our angle, we set our rod right here in the launch position. And then at that point, all we have to do is we have to be that globe that's turning around, rotating around our axis. That's a great way to think about keeping that posture without, necessarily thinking about posture, okay? That's a great example I love to use. So try that out. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. If it was, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. That way you don't miss any of the upcoming baseball videos that we have. We're coming out with new ones every single week. But thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.